Hello, and thanks for staying with us on your channel of choice, Africa Independent Television AIT. Welcome to this signature show. I am Mwabuoze Njoko. Now, in this edition of this program this Sunday, Governor Nasir El-Rufai of Kaduna State versus organized labor. Time will justify the man of knowledge and principle. Pay ransom to kidnappers and go to jail for 15 years. That's what the Senate is proposing. But what are Nigerians saying? Governor Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State versus Justice Minister Abubakar Malami, the story of spare parts versus open grazing. Plus, our interview on Nigeria's looting bazaar. Nigerian elite not divided by religion or tribe. Please stay with us.
There seems to be a lot of misconception about the Nigeria police and Nigeria in general. Here at the Kano State Police Command, we have good news of two officers who have not only worked diligently, but have distinguished themselves in the anti-corruption crusade. In Kano on Thursday,
Corruption Tori
was at the Kano State Command of the Nigeria Police, the Consumer Protection Council, and Kano Road Traffic Agency, three organizations whose officers have displayed a commendable sense of anti-corruption. On behalf of
Corruption Tori,
in support of the MacArthur Foundation, we are presenting this award to you for your outstanding efforts in the war against corruption.
Thank you very much.
On behalf of
Corruption Tori,
in support of the MacArthur Foundation, we are presenting this award to you as a result of your outstanding efforts in the fight against corruption. So on behalf of
Corruption Tori,
in support of the MacArthur Foundation, we are presenting this award to you for your outstanding efforts and service in the fight against anti-corruption. The officers had rejected bribe to aid, abet, and conceal the distribution of expired goods, which could have put the lives of many people in danger.
Very well, because people have been calling me, to congratulate me, to thank me, for the action of this particular policeman. You understand now? So, in fact, people are so happy with the command, not only me, but with the Nigeria Police Force, with the new IG, and also because he also addressed us to be very honest and sincere to people. And this is what this man have portrayed.
In the course of our operation, the staff from the agency, that's Consumer Protection Council, and one Inspector Garbarabu were offered 1 million naira bribe, and they turned it down. They reported to the office, and we feel this kind of people, if they are encouraged, others will emulate. So that is why we give them the 1 million naira they were offered for the bribe, for them to know they can get it legitimately.
For the upright officers, it is a new dawn of recognition, respect, and goodwill.
A lot of my classmates and my friends in outside call me and say congratulations to me, and I'm happy. Even inside my agency, some people give me great regard.
I'm very happy as I get this recognition from different organizations, and as I get this recognition, I know I upgrade my family and my organization and my office duty.
By the time this thing happened, people are calling me from nowhere, from over the country. They are congratulating me. Nobody will discuss me about this thing. Anybody will tell me, he will call me, he will congratulate me the thing I do. So some people, they want to learn what I did.
The
Corruption Tori
recognition, which is supported by the MacArthur Foundation, is among many others to the officers to encourage honesty at work. Ifunanya Ilodianya in Kano.
This is signature.tv.org. Breaking the news. Following the news. Analyzing the news. 247 round the clock. All on the go. signature.tv.org. News in your pocket.
Now, there is no doubt that losing a job, especially in these very difficult times in Nigeria, can be very traumatizing. You lose your job and your world virtually comes to an end. You cannot provide for your family. You cannot plan a future. You become the butt of jokes on having to beg to eat, and you feel less than human with your dignity shredded. So it is understandable that organized labor rose in arms to defend its members who lost their jobs in Kaduna State. Now, but why did Governor Nasir El-Rufai have to reduce the workforce of Kaduna State? Now, start from Governor Godwin Obaseki of Edo State, who blew the whistle that the Nigerian government was printing money to help states meet their financial obligations. Then, go to the Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, who has suggested a salary cut for Nigerian civil servants if Nigerian governments are to meet their financial obligations. Now, the progression will show you that Nigeria's financial fortunes keep dipping. So, Governor El-Rufai should rather be commended for acting before Kaduna State gets broke. He is a man of principle and a man of knowledge, and time, honestly, will prove him right. However, there are two issues which seem to give a wrong impression about this well-informed policy. First, how many politicians has the governor laid off? He needs to address that question. After all, what is good for the goose should also be enjoyed by the gander. Secondly, when will the Kaduna State government pay the severance benefits of those it has retrenched? Not paying them drains all humanity from this well-informed policy and puts organized labor on a high moral ground from which it can begin to cast aspersions on both the governor and that policy. Meanwhile, as we said last week, many more governors will take the El-Rufai route, and the signs are already beginning to show. Only last Thursday, the Nigerian Governors Forum decided that it was time Nigeria's downstream oil industry is totally deregulated and all subsidy removed. In the next few months, if not weeks, pump price of petrol will be a little bit below 400 naira per liter. All this because Nigeria's resources are drying up, and many states can no longer pay salaries as and when due. Can't you see that the right handing on the wall? This is the Signature Show on AIT. We take a break now, and when we return, pay ransom to kidnappers and go to jail. Stay with us.
That bill cannot stand. We don't support that bill. So what is government? What is the responsibility of government? Is it not to protect life and property? So now, individuals now want to protect their own citizens, through paying ransom, and government is saying that they will face 15 years in prison. For what? It's wrong. It's wrong. That is not, in fact, that is a very wrong bill to even bring on board in what is happening in Nigeria. That bill is wrong. They should find solution to insecurity in Nigeria. All the money they have been investing in buying, doing all what they do to fight security challenges, they should prove it to Nigeria, not to send us to jail.
For me, I don't support it, and I'm not in support of that, because the government is supposed to do what they're supposed to do to prevent this to happen in the first place, and they are not doing it. And for instance, they kidnap your child or your wife, and government is not doing anything to rescue the person, and you have your way. Why don't you get them out? Because you have the money to pay.
The government has not put in place security measures to prevent kidnapping And in the cases of kidnapping that has happened in the recent past, we haven't seen the government being up to the task in bringing back the children who have been kidnapped, or even the adults who have been kidnapped. So you can't tell people not to pay the ransom when you can't actually get the people for them back.
What effort have they made towards putting an end to this insecurity? You understand? I, for one, if they kidnap any of my relation, if I have the ransom, I will pay so that my person will not die. They will not kill my person. You understand? They've not done anything to stop the insecurity. And they are talking that anybody who pay ransom will be jailed for 15 years. For what reason? I can't look my person and I have the ransom to pay, and I will allow him to die or to be killed.
It's like they don't even value us as human in this country anymore. If just for example now, when maybe they kidnap my relative or maybe my son, my daughter, I go and pay ransom to get my loved one back, they will say I should go 50 years imprisonment. It's not right, it's not good. So even the country say, what are we even gaining?
Now, the Senate last week showed its absolute disgust for the rage of kidnappings sweeping across the country and how governments and individuals are indirectly funding and supporting the crime, which is honestly threatening the very existence of Nigeria. The Senate passed a bill which seeks to send anybody who pays ransom to kidnappers to a prison term of 15 years. The challenge, though, is that some state governments are also involved in this ransom-paying business. So what happens to them? And secondly, do those who pay do so voluntarily? The fact is that Nigeria's security ineffectiveness makes Nigerians to take their fate in their hands when their members are kidnapped. If you don't pay, your member is killed, and the killers have never been apprehended and punished. They remain as unknown gunmen. Now, to tackle this challenge of kidnapping, which has been linked to herdsmen, the southern governors banned open grazing. No, says the Minister of Justice. Banning open grazing is unconstitutional, he says, and it is like banning spare parts traders. But is it true? A number of Nigerians now say that unless Nigeria is restructured, the kind of conversation that Justice Minister is bringing in, and which will keep Nigeria's conversation toxic, will continue to emerge. The announcement of the Information Minister that the federal government is working at restructuring Nigeria is the focus of our special report this afternoon. Is the federal government speaking from both sides of the mouth, or is there a disalignment in the ranks of the Buhari-led federal administration? In the last 2 weeks, there have been two contradictory positions expressed by senior officers of the federal government on the same issue. First, the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, while addressing journalists in Lagos, said that the federal government has accepted that there is an urgent need for restructuring and not separation of the country. He said this position was one of many implementable decisions reached at the National Security Summit, which held in April in Kaduna State. The other decisions reached at the dialogue, and which the federal government has committed itself to implementing, include the unbundling of the judiciary to make it less unitary, and ensuring that Nigeria is a society governed by laws and every Nigerian must obey and remain equal before the law, including the lawgiver. Lai Mohammed also said that by the Kaduna decisions, the federal government is favorably disposed to the establishment of state police. Lai Mohammed's statement kindled a fresh enthusiasm and expectation that the Buhari-led federal government seems to have realized that its credibility and the support it can enjoy from the citizens issue from its being faithful to and redeeming its election promises. However, the Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, speaking to a television channel last week, challenged those clamoring for restructuring to begin with their own states. A clear indication that the minister was not in agreement with the Kaduna resolutions, or Lai Mohammed was not speaking the mind of the federal government. Before Lai Mohammed kindled this fresh hope of sorting out Nigeria's structural challenges, many notable Nigerians had canvassed different positions, but all of them pointed to the need to restructure the country to address issues of equity, justice, and ensure a sense of collective ownership of the country.
First of all, we need to restructure this country and make it possible for people to protect their lands.
Of course, I've always been for restructuring Nigeria. I think basically those who benefit from the system as it is today would like to leave it. And so when you mention that there needs to be a change, there needs to be a modification, there needs to be a new way of doing things and new systems in place, yes, they will feel that, oh, you want to break up the country.
Do I kill or restructuring? Let's create a new country. Let's revisit the fundamentals. Let's make Nigeria a proper, functional, productive country where every section of Nigeria will contribute to its progress and we will live in prosperity and happiness.
Reacting to the hope kindled by the Information Minister Lai Mohammed that in addition to redeeming its election promises, the federal government seems to be taking cognizance of the positions canvassed by many well-meaning Nigerians, many prominent citizens have weighed in, suggesting how to go about the restructuring if the federal government is sincere with its promise.
We shouldn't dismiss what Minister Lai Mohammed said, no matter how little credibility we attempt to attach these days to what the federal government spokespeople say. We would hope that they're not just talking. However, there's a catch. It's not enough to take the word of the Minister of Information. Nigerians need to see evidence that what he's saying actually represents a genuine and sincere commitment to commence a process that needs to happen now, that must be meaningful, that must touch the core of what restructuring is, and that is not targeted at pushing back a problem so that future generations of Nigerians will inherit it.
I think Lai Mohammed's interview on two flanks. On one flank, I'm tempted to read the conclusion that it might sound like a political talk. But on the other flank, I think it could also be somebody who is coming from the bottom heart of the need to make things different in this country. Now, if I say he is talking politically, I can also be very correct. Why do I say so? I say so because we know the Information Minister. We know that over time the APC, from their manifesto, talked about restructuring of Nigeria. They also have the Erufai report that also dwell extensively on that report and which came up with their recommendations on how they're going to restructure Nigeria. It's in the open and everybody should say that. Now, over the years, this political party has not kept to its word. They have not stuck to their manifesto. That means they are not true to what they say. And so in that regard, we need to mistrust them.
Buhari, many of the spokesmen sometimes will tell you, you are talking of restructuring. Restructuring means many things to many people. When Shehu Down asked Malami if it means many things to many people, but it's in your manifesto. What do you mean by restructuring? Then he went to that basis. Now, take it from there. It is in the Buhari, who has been clamoring to be the head of this government, has been talking about restructuring since 2007. When I felt very, including myself, Baba Adesoya, campaigned for him in Adamasiba. He's talking of restructuring when Pastor Bakari was his running mate. And of late, Dr. Bakari had to challenge him. That what you say you don't mean by restructuring? Is it not one of the things you agree with me? Did I not bring you papers and all that? You will also remember the very APC itself set up a Rufai committee recommending restructuring. Restructuring doesn't mean anything. Go back to federalism. And when they want to confuse the people, they are government of the seat, and they have an expert in Lai Mohammed. So he will come and put it together and confuse people. That is the government we are having. They have no clue.
Two issues, however, seem to be the baggage which the federal government's expressed intention to now restructure Nigeria carries. The first is that of sincerity, which is being made doubtful by the position of the Minister of Justice, which contradicts that of the Minister of Information. The baggage of sincerity is made even heavier when it is realized that the APC canvassed the same restructuring in the course of the 2015 general election. Nigerians who wanted a working nation voted overwhelmingly for the party, and they won the election. Now the 2023 election has become a major national political issue, and restructuring has again become a prime promise of the APC government. The question is whether this return to the promise to restructure is a stunt to gain political advantage and win the election in 2023. The second baggage is whether the Constitution itself is not a stumbling block to restructuring. Can Nigeria be restructured within the provisions and operation of the 1999 Constitution as amended? For those saddling the National Assembly with the responsibility of amending the Constitution to effect restructuring, can such a National Assembly process be trusted to produce the desired result, since previous attempts came to naught? And indeed, can the National Assembly accept to go along with a process which could end up whittling down its powers, reducing its numbers, or even scrapping the bicameral legislature?
Let me take this opportunity to tell people. The complaint we are having now is that this constitution is not our own. We don't make it. I have asserted that, I have not disputed it. All the complaint that is arising as a result of this constitution is a product of the constitution imposed on us in 1966 by the military Muslims. They have not disputed that. And they now ask us to go amend the constitution through a parliament which is a product of the fraud.
Addressing these baggages with all sincerity may be as important as ensuring that Lai Mohammed's stated position represents a new federal government thinking and disposition towards creating a Nigerian nation of one nation, one destiny, in justice and equity. However, the Ondo State Governor, Rotimi Akeredolu, a senior advocate of Nigeria, says if the Justice Minister sees a justifiable comparison between banning open grazing and his spare parts theory, he should please head to the court. But before the Justice Minister goes to the court, let us tell him that spiritual leaders, experts in religion, sense, and action say the Nigerian elite are never divided when it comes to looting the national treasury. It is only their disunity when it comes to the power to loot that creates all manner of heat in the national polity. This is the focus of our conversation this Sunday. Please stay with us.
This is SignatureTV.org. Breaking the news. Following the news. Analyzing the news. 247 round the clock. All on the go. SignatureTV.org. News in your pocket.
Joining me on this segment of our show is Simon Yohai, Simon Yohai is an associate professor of systematic theology at the University of Portland in the United States of America. Prof, you're welcome to our show.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Prof, let me start by saying congratulations, because you just brought some good news to those of us in Nigeria, where good news is very scarce. You know, in Nigeria today, we hear about Boko Haram, we hear about insurgency, we hear about banditry. But it's good to have this good news that the University of Portland awarded you the Outstanding Scholarship Award 2021. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And I got so excited about the citation of your colleagues when in giving you that award, they said that the university was giving you the award for remarkable, insightful, new, innovative, and transformative scholarship. You know, and from my understanding, this award goes to very few outstanding scholars in the University of Portland. So how did you feel, you know, bringing this good news back home?
It's hard work. I would say that Nigeria prepared me for this award in the sense that my formative years were in Nigeria. And then being trained to be focused and to work hard, to be dedicated, that at the end of the day it yields rewards. That was very helpful at the end. That's always helped my career. And also, I am a very purposeful person because I believe that as an intellectual, my work, I am called to create new fields of scholarship that will better humanity, and primarily Nigeria and the African continent, because I am one of my areas of specialization is in the continent of Africa, looking at religious diversities and religious notions of identity. And so that has shaped my work. But I'm also a very disciplined scholar in the sense that I can sit, as the Americans say, you can sit my butt down and then do the work that is needed.
And they talked about your humility, your ability, you know, to make what they said, others' light shine more brightly, you know, than your own. What were they saying?
Yeah, it is. I think I was trained in the seminary for that. I was in a seminarian and also a religious. So I was trained to always understand that you go together, and it's always as a forest that you can withstand the force of the wind, not like as a tree. So that's always at the center of what I do, because if others shine, I do shine through them. And if others succeed, I succeed through them. If they fail, I fail. Scholarship sometimes scholarship is seen as a personal ambition, but I don't see it that way, because knowledge is always a communally created reality, and is communally mediated and protected and transferred. So I'm always very conscious about that. What insights and wisdom can others bring to the conversation to enrich it, or else it becomes incestuous. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about your field, you know, of specialization, what is called systematic theology. You are from Benin in Nigeria. You grew up in Nigeria. You are now an international scholar. And you hear every day our challenges as a country: banditry, tribalism, religion in terms of its extremism, you know, and a whole lot of challenges. When we talk about systematic theology, how can it impact on our country, on our countrymen? How can it help improve our situation as a nation today?
First of all, the discipline of systematic theology literally means in the Western world, in the past it used to be called fundamental theology, which means studies of doctrines and all that stuff, Christian doctrines. But in the Western world, it's gone beyond that. It's not just the study of doctrines, looking at the philosophical background. So I am also grounded in philosophy. One of my degrees is in philosophy. And so it's looking at how the chains, how do the doctrines, the teachings of Christianity make sense? And how do they mediate meaning for cultures and all that? So it's not just I am not only just grounded in systematic theology, my areas are also in interfaith studies, comparative theology, and religion and identity in the continent, and especially African cultures and philosophies. So in the area of interfaith studies, I am particularly interested in how do religious communities articulate a sense of identity, and that's not in not in negation of their socio-cultural context, because identity is always constructed within the larger framework of cultural location, the geopolitical dynamics that play out in that context. So, how, if I say I'm a Christian in Nigeria, what does a Nigerian Christian look like? What does it mean to be a Nigerian Christian? It is to just say I'm a Christian devoid of the context is a lie. It doesn't make sense. After all, God became one human, became one of us in a concrete locality. And we say that God became one of the Jewish people, and through the Jewishness of God, we participate as Gentiles in that reality. So my work is looking at, for example, Nigeria is one of my major areas of research focus. My last monograph, my book was that came out in 2019, explored religious communities in Nigeria. I spent time studying particular town in Midwestern Nigeria that has three religious groups: Christianity, Islam, and indigenous religions, and to see what are the dynamics playing out. Why are they not killing themselves in the name of religion in comparison to other parts of the country? And then that tells me a lot that the crisis Nigeria faces has to do with the crisis of identity and identity construction. What does that mean? Nigerians, many of Nigerians are religious. In fact, if not all of them, it's anyone is an atheist. They might say they're atheistic, ideologically and philosophically, but their day-to-day lived experiences are still grounded in the religious motifs and their realities. So, what does it mean to be a Nigerian Muslim in relation to tribal identity? What does it mean to be a Nigerian Christian in relation to tribal identity and also economic realities? And these are the things that I am looking at and exploring. Nigeria is in crisis today, not because Nigerians do not have a sense of purpose, but rather because of the virus, colonial virus, the trauma of colonialism, and also tribalism. Tribalism, when I really want to explain that carefully, in Nigeria, when you talk about tribalism, everyone is tribalistic without knowing that they are, because it's like Nigerians are like fish inside the water. They are so conditioned by their atmosphere that they don't know they're in the waters. So tribalism was in Africa before colonial rule, but the rigid notions of tribalism were intentionally introduced into the continent of Africa, Nigeria included, by the European colonialists.
So how can we use systematic theology to reset, to rejig, to redefine a new Nigeria? Because today, a lot of people say that it has moved from the old war to ideological war. It has also moved from the old war to a kind of freedom, the kind of freedom that Nigerians and Africans had participated in the 60s, kind of independence. Oh, the Igbos want to have Biafra. The Yorubas want to have Oduduwa state, and so on. How can we use this new or redefined thinking of systematic theology to correct what is wrong with Nigeria?
The theology has to be liberational. So I'm not just a systematic theologian, I'm a systematic theologian who's a liberational theologian, which means that I am asking the question, how can religion help undo the shackles of slavery, of the mind? How can religion help to build society so that all lives can flourish? So it means no longer asking the old questions of subjugation, but the new questions of liberation. Why are we what we are? And what role has religion played? So as a systematic theologian, my first place of deconstruction is religion itself. I have to deconstruct the colonial tendencies of religion, because religion can be weaponized. I give you a simple example. If I were to ask you, if you are a Christian, to go to your church tomorrow and come back to me and tell me all the images of the saints and of Jesus and of God you see in your church, none of them will look like you. They are all blonde hair, blue eyes. So even your religious images are erasing your own sense of self. So your imagination is already erased and held captive. And I was in Nigeria, I think 2 years ago, for a conference that was organized by Professor Stan Eloy, a dear friend of mine. And then after that, I went to Onitsha to go and see to the cathedral to see certain things there. And then I saw the statues of the saints, the apostles, and Jesus and all that stuff. So I asked a priest who was my guide. I said, "Could you please tell me why all the saints look like Western, they're Europeans and whites, and none of them look like you?" And they said, "Oh no, they're all replicas of the apostles. The apostles were whites." I said, "Who told you that? First of all, they don't even have a sense of historical consciousness. Jesus was not a white person." And so the idea of having these images is not to talk about the sameness of what they are replicating. We don't even know what they look like. They're the Middle Easterners, but it's to inculturate the sense of the holy within one's socio-cultural context. Our socio-cultural context is missing the holy, and this is the leap, the colonial dimension of Christianity, of religion, not just Christianity, Islam. But Islam did very well prior to colonial rule, because Islam is very acculturated religion. And that's why it sustains itself. That is why it stays longer. And that is why it survived. It was able to eradicate Christianity in North Africa, because it has a way of appropriating the local cultures and redefining itself within the cultures. But unlike Christianity, Christianity tends to be very slow about that. And so what we have today, Christianity in Africa, is not yet an African Christianity. It is still a Eurocentric Christianity. And so as a systematic theologian, my job is to undo those systems of erasure.
Does that include what you just said, that Jesus was not white?
Yeah, Jesus was never white. He had no hair, blonde hair, blue eyes.
Where was he from?
He's Middle Eastern.
This calls for a great debate, but let me leave that, because I'm sure you're going to come back on this show not long from now. But I want to look at the nexus between systematic theology and leadership, because everybody says that the biggest African challenge may not be Boko Haram, may not be poverty, may not be religion, is actually leadership. Where is the connection between this liberating theology you're talking about and leadership that can, at the end, liberate us from poverty, from crisis, from multiple identity crisis and all that? Where is the connection? How can we go about it?
Nigeria has not, unfortunately, and I will say this, and I guess the current president might be upset with what I want to say. He is unfit to be president, and I will tell you why he's unfit. A military person who has been trained to think in a particular way, in a particular mindset, who also ended up overthrowing a civilian government, is not the right person you should be running to be the bastion of democracy. Psychologically, that is not possible. When he was running for office, I asked the following questions. How much does he know of democratic processes? And I was told that he said he has apologized for his role in destroying democracy in Nigeria. I said, okay, apologies is not enough. You need structures in place to ensure that he does not become a royalty, because Nigeria's presidency is still structured in a manner that it's a king yet without a crown, but it's the monarch that is ruling. If you look at the systems that are put in place, and that's also part of the problem you have. And so when you have a crisis in hand, what is his subconscious reversion to? It is the hard rule, because that is what he was conditioned to be. So it's not, the democracy is a cultural issue, practice. Nigeria does not have, in the so-called Nigeria of today, it does not have the culture of democracy. Forget all that nonsense you say, senators, representatives, and all that stuff. These are just persons who don't even understand the philosophy, political philosophy. If I were to ask the so-called head of your Senate, what is the political philosophy of his party that he is embracing, then you will be shocked to see that they don't even understand what I'm asking about. Because if somebody honestly knew and embraced a political philosophy, they would not be jumping from one political party after any time the wind blows to the next other political party so that they can be re-elected. So that already tells you that this is a caricature of the whole principle of democracy.
So how do we do the reset? How do we change course? Because Nigeria actually needs to turn the curve.
The change is not, this is the crisis Nigeria faces because of the trauma. It's a national trauma. Everyone is guilty of this trauma. And you cannot really comprehend it unless you step away. And then you will now look at Nigeria from afar. Then you say, oh, this is what's going on. Nigeria cannot reinvent itself. Forget that everyone is talking about the split. They should break up the country and everyone should go their ways, regions. You're still going to have the same problem. The problem is not just the Nigeria, it's within the consciousness of a Nigerian. A rigid sense of tribal consciousness is one of the serious issues underlining progress, diminishing progress in Nigeria. And why do I say that? If you vote me in, and I'm only more interested in my village, my town, my family, I will never be able to articulate policies that will benefit other parts of the country. This is what is happening. And even the Nigerians who are complaining that Buhari is not doing well, why are they complaining? It's not because of anything, but Buhari has not come to put roads or construct roads in their own village. Or Jonathan Goodluck, his own people were complaining, oh, he was not bringing resources to our own people, and these are his own people. The question I always ask, the places he erected those roads, were they not places inhabited by Nigerians? So in the subconscious, Nigerians are not yet thinking Nigeria. They are still thinking tribe. And that is intentional agenda that was put in place by the Europeans, by the British. The very origin of Nigeria was set to fail. Nigeria was set up to fail. If Nigeria was not set up to fail, the first thing Nigeria should have done is delegitimize this notion of tribal consciousness at its onset. In the United States that I live in, there's California, there's Oregon, there's everything, name it. No one speaks of, oh, I'm an Oregonian, so all that matters is about Oregon. That's nonsense. We are Americans. There's a national consciousness.
So how do we, as a country, achieve this sense of nation?
A new conversation has to begin. And unfortunately, I must say this, that the academics in Nigeria have failed the nation because they are also held captive by this virus. A new conversation has to begin. It was tried, but it was always hijacked by the tribal consciousness. You had NYSC, the National Youth Service Corps, which would have been an excellent way of resetting the country after the Civil War, but it was hijacked by tribal consciousness. No one wants to go to a village in Nasarawa, or everyone wants to work in Lagos, and then they all fabricate papers and other stuff to be sent to Lagos. So that no one wants to go to a school in one village because that place is not developed. So you need a leader. The problem is Nigeria is that you still have a personality cult. And democracy does not operate with personality cult. Here in the United States, we are struggling right now because we have now seen the dangers of personality cult in the person of the former President Donald Trump, who was a disaster. And now, because personality cult leads to fascism, and Nigeria is literally a fascist state, presenting itself in a false manner to be a democratic state. Buhari was voted in because of his militaristic power. Oh, I'm going to clean house, iron fist type of rule. That's not a democratic process. And then they now say they are negotiating. What's the negotiating process of Nigeria? What projects are put in place in Nigeria to literally develop the country? What is the vision of the political elites to say, in the next 10 years, this is the level of development Nigeria has to attain? Every nook and cranny of the country has to be developed to that extent. What? None. They just go about, they develop the areas where they are living. I remember working years ago in the 90s in Iyala, Holy Ghost Juniorate, and then Uli, there was the governor of, I think,
Anambra, yeah.
Was in Uli. He had this lovely mansion, and then there was the freeway. There was really bad, but he constructed a lovely road from his house to the freeway, and then at the end there was a dead end. There's no road anymore. And I just said, is this man a lunatic? Who builds this type of thing? You build this mansion, then you have this your lovely road, personal road that gets to the public road, and the public road, there's no road anymore. Why not develop the public road as well? So this sense of it's a sense of I must be better than you, a class mentality that the British left behind in Nigeria has not yet been eradicated. So you have every person living in mansions and castles, but around them are slums. And that is the crisis you have in Nigeria. There is no structural vision for the country, and there's no maintenance culture in the country. And these are elements of symptoms of trauma, national trauma.
But Prof, 1960 to 2021 is a long time. Do we still have to blame the British?
Did the British ever leave? Did the West ever leave Nigeria?
You think they never left?
I'm asking you, did they ever leave Nigeria? They never left.
Okay.
The economic system that the so-called Africa operates in, it's an economic system set up by the West to impoverish Africa. I'll give you a simple example. Why do you think there's always war in the Congo? The Congo has not known peace since Leopold II set his eyes on the Congo over 100 years ago. The Congo has not known peace. There is a reason for that. If Congo were to have access to its own resources, the Western world will not have the military abilities it has today because of the mineral called cobalt. Cobalt, the place where the highest reserve of cobalt is found in the Congo. If the Congo were to regulate that mineral and was to have at least 10% of the proceeds from the sales of that mineral, Congo will be the Saudi Arabia or the Dubai of the world. But it is important that there is no peace where the mineral resources are in Africa, so that the Western powers can have free access to it. The next crisis you are going to face in Africa, it will be water. The water wars will soon begin. The Western world, the water reserves, the clean water reserves of the world are diminishing. Why do you think that there's all these bases, US base all around Africa? China has its own bases around Africa. Russia is having its base. France is having its base. Britain is having its base. Why are they trying to drive all the mosquitoes away from Africa? Everyone is strategizing.
You think they have their own agenda?
Everyone there has his own agenda. Why was Macron coming to dance like a moron in all the countries in Africa before the pandemic began? Because the geopolitical system is shifting. Some new powers are rising. So everyone has to now run back to its former colonial colonies to figure out how to re-strategize itself and have a stronghold on those colonies.
From what you said, do you suggest there's something like an elite conspiracy or complicity in what is happening to Nigeria and Africa?
The Africa has these political elites who don't give a damn about the country because they don't have a sense of national consciousness, Nigeria included. There's no philosophy. There are no ideologues in Nigeria. Unlike in the past, the ideologues died after the First Republic. Then you now have sycophants, persons with no moral consciousness, They hijacked the system, and they were supported by the Western powers, because the Western powers wants the weakest person to be in charge, who has no moral credibility, so that by the time they are done with you, as they did with Gaddafi, then they can just simply push you aside and resurrect international law against you for all your abuses, and you are done with. Gaddafi was like that. He was a psychopath. So the question is, which Nigerian leaders, since after the First Republic, had a sense of national consciousness, had a sense of political philosophy? Ghana, for example, you read the works of Kwame Nkrumah, Nnamdi Azikiwe, you read his works. How many Nigerian leaders after that have written anything? Does your president right now even know what a political philosophy means? These are the questions you have to ask yourselves. But the question is, it's not Buhari's fault alone. It's Nigeria's problem. Because we are so traumatized, we vote in trauma. We vote in those who do not mean us well. And that is the symptom of trauma. So you need academics to restart this conversation. It's not about Igbo, Hausa. That's nonsense conversation. That is exactly the language the Europeans want you to, Britain wants you to speak. You need to start asking yourselves, what has happened to us as a people? How can we tap into our resources to better our country, not our village, not Eastern Nigeria, not Biafra, not Oduduwa? Those are nonsense narratives. No one was born and there was a stamp on their head called Biafra or Oduduwa child. You were a human being. You are living in a geopolitical world. And the geopolitical context you are in now is called Nigeria, whether you like it or not. So let's re-engage and redefine what Nigeria means for everyone. It's not splitting it into little parts. You split it in, the virus is still there. You're going to split further and further and further till it now becomes each family's country.
So would you be among those who say, besides the psychological, manipulation, that there should be some kind of physical approach to this, where people don't have to write in every form they feel they want to write? For JAMB, I say I'm an Igbo man, I'm from Enugu State, so the indigenship thing and should go for citizenship. Are you one of
citizenship that is credible? They should have policies in place, and it should be a conversation of development of the country. Say, in the next 10 years, this is the level of development Nigeria needs to arrive at, whatever political party is in place. So there should be a non-political organization put in place. The members of that must not be affiliated to any political party. They must be persons who are only interested in the development of the country. And then they come up with an agenda, a blueprint for developing the country. Because Boko Haram can be addressed if you develop Nigeria. Boko Haram has credibility today because the economic inequalities. That part of Nigeria, people don't understand this. The northern part of Nigeria is the most impoverished part of the country. People don't understand that. They are shouting Fulanis at this, Fulanis at that, they are taking over our country. They are not. The people who are taking over the wealth of Nigeria are oligarchs. They are few and they are friends, and they don't think tribes. They are non-tribal, these oligarchs. You have some of them who are Igbo, some of them who are Yoruba, some of them who are from the north, but they are few. They own your oil wells and all that nonsense. But the Fulanis, they just construct roads for them. What has road got to do for a Fulani? Go to the northern part of Nigeria. They are still living in the forest. And then people think that they are their enemies. These people are not your enemies. It's divide and rule policy that the oligarchs are still using. Because once you keep fighting yourselves, your wealth is being siphoned out because there's no regulation occurring. Transparency.
So in other words, Nigeria's exploiters are non-tribal.
They are non-tribal.
in what they do, tribe plays no part.
When they are sharing your process, the national wealth, they don't say Yoruba or Hausa or Igbo. They just share your wealth. Then you and the masses are the ones killing yourselves. Oh, Hausa, Yoruba, and they are busy. They are singing the song for you, and they are not even religious persons.
And then they are marrying each other.
Yep.
And making sure that the rest of us are not part of what they're doing.
Yes. And then you are killing each other.
Prof, I must end this conversation. I'm laughing about it, but it's not actually a laughing matter as we say in Nigeria. This is very serious. I must thank you for your insight, Professor Simon Yohai, systematic theology at the University of Portland in the United States of America. Once again, I must congratulate you for the award, flying Nigeria's flag, and bringing some good news in a country that is dying to hear good news.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I hope you'll be here again to talk with us.
Anytime. And tell Buhari I would like to have a conversation with him.
Okay. I've been speaking with Professor Simon Yohai. He's an associate professor of systematic theology at the University of Portland in the United States of America. I'm Vin Martin Obiora Ilo. Thanks for watching.
Well, that's our package for this Sunday. My name remains Mwabos Njok. Let's meet again same time next week. Enjoy your afternoon and good afternoon.